If you ask an English teacher marking an essay, then counting words is simple. It is the number that comes up when you hit the word count button in whichever program you're writing with. For English at least, word counting algorithms generally count a word as any string of letter characters. Each string of those separated by some other character? It's a word. The trouble is, while that might be good enough for checking that an essay is roughly the length you want it to be, it's going to count plenty of things that aren't words too. And it doesn't get to a more fundamental question. What actually is a word? Well, first of all, there's the problem of meaning. If you accept the definition that a word is some letters surrounded by a gap, then knoppet and are all words, despite being pretty much meaningless. You certainly can't rely on dictionaries to define what's a real word either. There are plenty of words that people use every day that haven't made it into standard dictionaries. Okay, maybe that one isn't used every day anymore, but they clearly have meaning. So okay, let's say that a word is some characters surrounded by something else that conveys some meaning. It's not a bad definition on paper. I mean, literally, that's not a bad way to define English words when they are written down on paper, but language isn't just about writing. That definition, spaces around some letters, doesn't handle contractions well at all. In everyday English speech, there are far more contractions than you'd ever see written down. Depending on your dialect, either is a perfectly good replacement for I would have, as in, I'd have thought you'd known that. Is that 3 words, 2 words, just 1? How about I'ma, as in, I'ma let you finish? There are a dozen different ways to even spell that one right now, and it's replacing 4 received pronunciation words, I am going to. Except, there's also a decent argument that I'ma isn't even a contraction of those words, it's a completely separate word in itself, I'ma. Either way, good luck counting the number of words you've actually got there. And to make it worse, the meanings of words and how they're presented change over time. Today used to be hyphenated, today. And before that it was 2 words, today. When did it become 1 word instead of 2? How about first class? Does that become a single word if you hyphenate it instead? You'll find that most people will give 2 different answers. Today is 1 word, but first class is 2. That's why we're still talking about English. How about synthetic languages? Ones where, in extreme cases, you can put an entire sentence's worth of meaning into 1 long string of characters or sounds. Is that still 1 word? And more important than any of that, does it matter? Word count is a convenient thing to refer to if you're tracking your progress on a written project like a dissertation. Regardless of how exactly you define a word, it is clearly a massive feat to write 50,000 of them coherently. But when you zoom in on language as a system, it makes the most sense to ignore words entirely and talk about morphemes or phrases. Words might be the most convenient way of dividing up an English sentence, but they don't really have much use to linguists. And also, here's one question to leave you with that no one's tackled yet. Are emoticons or emoji words? They're symbols that convey meaning, sometimes literal, surrounded by space, and, well, sometimes they're just a modifier to a sentence. If I were to end a written version of this with just a smiley face, should that count as a word?